Most have heard of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, but do you know where they came from and what each step truly means? The 12 steps saved my life. They're not just a list of suggestions. They're a clear, spiritual set of directions that, when followed as written in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, have helped millions recover from addiction and alcoholism, never to drink or use again. Hi, I'm Adam Gunton, founder and executive director of Recovered on Purpose. Recovered on Purpose is a 501c3 nonprofit with the mission of helping addicts and alcoholics share their stories to help others recover. We are not affiliated with any 12-step fellowship, but work out of the Big Book like hundreds of other nonprofits. Today, I'm going to break down what the 12 steps are, how they work, and why they have the power to transform lives when worked with a sponsor who follows the Big Book. If you haven't yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly recovery-related content and share this video with anyone who would benefit from the message. You can also find free resources like 4th step worksheets, a relapse prevention worksheet, and my best-selling book From Chains to Saved on recoveredonpurpose.org. Now let's get into it. The 12 steps were introduced in the 1939 publication Alcoholics Anonymous, often referred to as the Big Book. The spiritual program was developed by the early members of AA who found that through a series of actions and personal transformations, they were able to remain sober and help others do the same. For this video, we're going to divide the steps into 4 spiritual stages of growth. First, surrender in steps 1 through 3, inventory and confession in steps 4 through 5, transformation and amends in steps 6 through 9, and maintenance and service in steps 10 through 12. So let's break each of these down. Let's start with steps 1 through 3. Surrender. Step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. This step is all about complete honesty and truly understanding our situation. This step in the Big Book takes up the largest portion of pages trying to explain to the reader what a real alcoholic or drug addict is. Someone who has a mental obsession to change the way they feel with alcohol or drugs whenever they're not high or drunk, and then once they have a drink or drug, an allergic reaction happens that causes a phenomenon of craving, making it impossible for that person to stop without some kind of outside power. This allergy is unique to this class of drinker or drugger, and people who do not understand what this is like just don't know. If you are one of the people that is in this unique class, there is no middle-of-the-road solution, and you can never safely use drugs or drink ever again. Many of us go through a lot more pain than necessary to find this out. I hope if you are one of us in this class, you take this more seriously and more quickly than I did. Step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. These 12 steps are not about religion, but about a spiritual program of action. You need only be willing to believe there may be something out there that has more power than you to make this step happen. It's about becoming open to the idea that healing is possible through something greater than yourself. And the sanity in this step is talking specifically about the mental obsession that causes us to take the first drink or drug, even though all the evidence of our lives tells us it is going to cause a lot of pain long term. Step 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. This is the pivotal surrender step, letting go of control and trusting in God's direction for your recovery. God, as you understand Him, could be Jesus, could be Muhammad, could be nature. The point is giving up control to whatever it is that is guiding you and giving you the power necessary to quit drinking and drugging. Now, for the self-examination and confession steps. Step 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. This is where we begin writing out a personal inventory, covering resentments, fears, and our behavior and relationships. The Big Book lays out exactly how to do this, and it's important to follow it with honesty. I have a guide for this step that simplifies it so you can finish it in a day or a week or 2 weeks. Whatever speed you want to go, because this step does not have to be as difficult as people make it out to be. It is a fact-finding and a fact-facing mission to leave behind the defects of character that have caused us to drink and drug. Step 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. I'll never forget my own experience with Step 5. Sitting with my sponsor, reading my inventory aloud on the rims of Billings, Montana in his 1983 Mailman Jeep, and being completely honest about everything I had done and that had been done to me for the first time in my life. I didn't have an intense spiritual experience except for the conscious awareness of being open with someone else, but the next day, the obsession to drink or use had left me for the first time since I was 12 years old, and it hasn't come back. Now for the transformation and amends. Step 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. This step is about becoming fully willing to let go of the character defects exposed in step 4 and 5. When a solid inventory is written and a good fifth step is done, we are able to point out patterns in our behaviors and attitudes that drive our nature toward harm and alcohol. This step is about taking a look at them and becoming totally ready to have God remove them from us to move on with our lives in recovery. Step 7. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Here, we turn to God in humility, asking for transformation and to leave these things behind. We are ready in step 6, and we take action in step 7 to give all of ourselves to God, good and bad. Step 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. The list we created in our 4th step inventory is a good starting point for an amends list of who we have harmed. Oftentimes, there are more people that will come up that we will need to put down on our 8th step list. Remember, the steps and the processes are in order for a reason. Make the list first, write the name down, even if you aren't willing to make amends to them yet. It is part of the process, and you and your sponsor can talk about all the reasons they don't deserve it so you can remove those character defects too. Step 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. The 9th step is where real, tangible change begins to happen. When we make amends to people we harmed through acting in our defects, we feel real impact of our actions, and it transforms our attitudes to want to act differently. The promises you hear read in meetings are actually the 9th step promises. I have another video breaking down the promises for each step, as well as one specifically for the 9th step promises as they were meant to be. This step is where you will feel a new freedom and a new happiness you have not experienced before. Now for maintenance, growth, and service. Step 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. This step keeps us spiritually fit by maintaining honesty and self-reflection daily. We take a nightly review of our day and how we showed up. Were we selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Did we harm anyone we owe an amends to? The 10th step allows us to continue to progress in a practical, actionable, and tangible way. Step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. This is where we deepen our relationship with God, seeking guidance for our lives. Notice how this step assumes we have already made conscious contact with God. It says we will improve it. Pretty cool, and it's a promise of this program. You will have a spiritual experience whether you believe or not, and you will be freed from drugs and alcohol. You need only be willing to believe and follow the directions of the 12 steps from the Big Book. Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. For me, step 12 became my life's mission. Carrying the message of hope to others struggling with addiction has been the greatest blessing of my life. This is why I founded Recovered on Purpose, to help others experience the same freedom I've found. And watching people I sponsor others, excites me as much as anything else in my life. All this stuff with Recovered on Purpose and opening my own treatment center and TED Talks and books and everything fails in comparison to watching someone recover from addiction or alcoholism through this work. And none of those things would even be happening if it weren't for this work. For me, it isn't about a fellowship, but about the book and working the steps with someone like me who needs help like I did. I will do this for the rest of my life, and if you are of the hopeless variety like I was, these steps are a guide to recover, and you will have hope for so many more things in your life than merely being abstinent from drugs and alcohol. Don't miss this opportunity. In conclusion, when worked as written in the Big Book, the 12 steps create a profound spiritual experience that rearranges our entire attitude and outlook upon life. The Big Book states, we have had a deep and effective spiritual experience, which has revolutionized our whole attitude toward life, toward our fellows, and toward God's universe. This isn't a self-help process. It's a path to freedom through help from others, helping others, and being directed by God. When worked with a sponsor who follows the Big Book closely, the 12 steps have the power to transform lives completely. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, the 12 steps work when worked as written. Find a sponsor who takes you directly through the Big Book, no matter which fellowship you're in. This program works when followed with honesty, willingness, and action. If you need help getting started, visit recoveredonpurpose.org. You'll find resources, guidance, and support to help you or your loved one begin the life-changing journey. Until next time, put a smile of hope on your face as you continue living Recovered on Purpose. If you want to take a dive into making the 4th step simpler and easier, click right here. Or if you want to take a dive into the 9th step promises, you can click right here.